Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Before I get too far into the video, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, that really helps to get my channel promoted, and I do appreciate that. Um, I am pleased to announce that I have some good news, some exciting news. We have completed the 2024 idea sketchbook, which details all of the different videos that I did over the past year. I think there's 180 or so, and in the sketchbook, it has a page for each of the videos, which includes details like annotations I made about the video, materials you need to make that piece, um, the gemstone, if it has a gemstone in it. It has a difficulty rating, and it even has a link right to the video. So there's a lot of good information there. In the annotations, I try and talk about things I might have done differently, or if I liked the piece, or what inspired it, and those kinds of things. So you get a little bit more information about my video. But it's a nice compilation of a whole bunch of stuff all in one place. And like I said, it's an ebook. It costs $35. It will be available on my merch store as of the 1st of January, so we'll have it live on those days. You can even buy the first and the second one at a slight discount if you want to get them both at the same time. So I think it might be a good deal if you've been waiting to buy that first one. So I look forward to hearing your input on it, and let's start talking about the project today. I'm going to be making kind of I'm probably going to call it a half-cylinder tension setting or something like that. It's something I tried a few years ago and I didn't quite get it right, so I wanted to try it again. I've been waiting to do it for a while. It's going to have an aquamarine in it, and it's going to be kind of just set between two pieces of silver that are in a half-cylinder shape. And it'll be right between the tops of those two, and we'll cut a little bit of a groove in there to hold the stone, and just pure tension will hold it in place. So it's one of those really open settings that allows a lot of light to get to the stone, so I think it'll be a good fun one to do. So we'll give it a shot and see if we can pull it off. Before I get started, though, I need to thank some people. I want to thank my patrons. We've had a great year over on Patreon, and I really appreciate all of your support, as well as the kind things you do and say over there. It's a great community, and I really appreciate all that you guys have done for me. So thanks for that. I look forward to a good, productive idea sharing kind of year in 2025. So let's have fun. My other group, my YouTube subscribers, I've pretty much doubled in size this year as far as followers. Thank you for that. I also wanted to thank you for the contributions. Like when you buy me a coffee or you do the super thanks, those things really help with the rising cost of materials. So thank you for that. Okay, well, let's get started on this project. Okay, so this is one of my sketchbooks you can get at my merch store if you're interested. I like to draw up my ideas anymore. That way I can go back and look at them again if I want to recreate anything. I wasn't quite sure what to do today, so I have a couple of sketches I was doing, but I ended up thinking, I'm going to try that one that I tried a few years ago that I didn't really like the result. So we'll see if we can make it better. Okay, so I have this little emerald cut aquamarine, and it's a 6x8. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to use mostly 18 gauge sheet. Which is 1.02 millimeters. Okay, and like I said, this is a 6x8. I made this to be about a size 8, I think, for this ring, and we're going to cut 18 gauge sheet, which is 1.02 millimeters, and we're also going to make this part of it out of that. And so I think it's going to be a pretty easy build. I did kind of look at the width of this stone, because I'm going to be setting it between here and here. I want it to be wide enough to where I can have a notch where just the end of this will slot into it on either side. And so it needs to be, a little bit wider than the stone this way. And so I measured it's about 9 millimeters, if I remember right. So I'm going to cut a strip of 18 gauge sterling sheet about 66 millimeters long, because that's about what it came out to be a size 8. And we'll play it by ear on this one. I'll cut another one the same width, but we'll do a smaller circle with it. So let's go ahead and cut that out. Set this to the side for now. I'm going to try and cut these notches in with a burr, but I'm going to try. The problem I had last time was I didn't get a very neat notch cut in there on the inside, and it looked sloppy, and the stone wasn't quite sitting right. So I'm going to try and get them nice and straight and really symmetrical this time. I think maybe I can pull that off if I'm on my game tonight, so we'll see. But I don't have all of the sophisticated tools that a lot of people have, so I'm going to have to use my primitive ones. Okay, let's see, where did that 18 gauge sheet go? Oh, there it is. So I measured this out to about 9 millimeters, and I scribed this along here. So I'm just going to cut it off right there. I get asked about these shears a lot. These are Fisker's craft shears. They are not a sponsor. But these shears are reasonably good shears for cutting silver sheet. I'm cutting 18 gauge here, which is a little beyond what you probably should with these. Because they wear out quickly if you abuse them like I'm doing here. Sometimes you just don't want to saw everything, you know? Okay. So let's flatten that out. Just kind of straighten out and file them flat. Ouch. Try not to file your knuckles. Oh, because of input from last year about the ebook, the previous one we just had in an EPUB format, which most ebook readers would be able to handle that. For some reason, the Kindle one doesn't like it. But so when people were having problems, I was sending them a PDF version of it. So this year I just made 2 different versions. One's a PDF version and one's a EPUB version. So take your pick. But make sure you get the one you want, though. Oopsie. My skin's really dry right now. So it cracks open pretty easily. So I'll try not to get blood on anything here. This would be a time, if you wanted to, you could use your miter vise jig. I think let's just wrap it around the mandrel here, kind of on the lower end. I always cut these a little bit bigger than I need, just so I make sure that I have enough. See, right now we're way up around a 9.5. That's due to that extra that I added on. So I'm going to take a little bit out, because I'm going to have this sitting down in there anyway, just a little bit. That's in the size range that I want. Okay, so the way that I kind of drew this up was, let's see if I can do this. kind of looking at it from the side like this to get an idea of about how big of a diameter I needed. And so we're going to try and shoot for something that's about that size. And let's see what that is. So we're looking at about a 1 centimeter kind of tube, and then we'll cut it in half. Does that sound like a plan? Alright, so we're that 18 gauge gun that I just had. Seems like we're going to need about well, pi times diameter equals circumference. So if we're doing 10 millimeter diameter times 3.14 would be 31.4 millimeters roughly. Is that right? So don't need too long of a piece, but let's cut a little extra like always, just to be so. Let's scribe some out here too. Oops. You know what? I'm going to save myself some trouble and just cut this end off right here. It won't go to waste. It'll get used for something. As if I can find it after it goes flying across the room. What did I say? 32-ish? So 1, 2, 3, let's go 35 just to be safe. Okay, let me find my bail making pliers. I'll use these and see what we come up with. That's pretty close. Let's see where we're at. Where's that now? Yeah, I think maybe we should cut this off with the saw. So let's scribe a line there. I'm going to estimate a little bit. Let's try and cut it right down that line there. Sorry about that gigantic mess here. Okay, let's get this edge cleaned up nice. So if I want these two ends to go together straight, I need to flatten it out on this spot right here. Kind of pushes the ends like, instead of being like this, kind of pushes them down like that. And then after we get them soldered together, we can round it back out again. just going to cut a piece out of this anyway afterwards, but I want to get it nice and round first, so that's why I'm soldering it together. If you haven't been to my channel before, I use hard silver sheet solder primarily. I use a liquid flux that I dribble on a little bottle like that usually. So my torch is a Silversmith model. It's their acetylene air torch. And it's a really good torch for silversmithing. I also do a lot of what's called pick soldering. Oh, I use a #1 tip on this. Pick soldering allows you to pick up a little bit of solder like that and put it where you want it. So if you're interested, I'll put a link up there for you. Find out about that. Oops, I missed. Yeah. If you want to round something out, sometimes these little jump ring mandrels are kind of handy. I think that's what I'm going to use tonight. Let's see where we're looking at this stone here. As far as the width of it, might be just a little bit big, but we can cut a piece out and then make the circle a little bit smaller, I suppose. I wanted to get it mostly round first, and then we'll get it all kind of filed up nicely. So we're kind of looking at, you know, sort of a thing. So I think let's kind of find the center of this and cut it straight across so we got a perfect hemisphere. Not hemisphere, half of a cylinder. Okay, let's see. I should probably use a little center finder for this. This is where the solder joint is up here. That's going to be the least round spot. So I'm going to put that at the top so we can just cut that whole area out. Actually, let's do it straight across like that. Duh. Just kind of saw it straight across there. I'm just going to do the same thing I did a minute ago, so you probably don't need to watch me do that. Be right back. Okay, got it cut in half. I think it's made me spend a little time getting these nice and straight. Let's take a look at how the stone looks when we hold it up next to it now. See, that's going to give us a nice tight grip on it, I think, if we can get the notch just right and everything. And now let's take a look at width and everything, just to make sure we still got, yes, we still got plenty of width. So And size-wise, that looks pretty close. Maybe a little bit closer together. And we can solder those together. And then we'll go from there. So make sure these are relatively straight. That's a pretty good angle. Let's try and do the other one about the same. You can brace this against something if you need to. I do on occasion, but this one I don't think I need to. So. Two ways we could do this. We could position this on top and solder it on there. I suppose we could turn this upside down, balance this like that. Either way would probably work. It might be easier to do it upside down, honestly. As long as I can get it straight on there. Actually, let me see if I can kind of put a mark down the center. Let's see how that does. It's quite a bit more mass in the upper piece than there is in the lower piece, so the lower piece will be a little more protected from the heat though, so we're going to kind of have to heat it relatively evenly. If I can do that without bumping into it with a torch, which is what I usually do when I'm doing something like this. Okay, I'm going to spend a minute or two getting this all kind of like cleaned up. I'll be right back. So I'm kind of flying blind here because I've never done one quite like this, but I found the center this way, and then I measured out about 2 millimeters to each side because this thing is a 6x8, so since it's an emerald cut, it tips in at the corners a little bit. So I'm going to cut a notch just a little bit down, just a rectangular notch that should be able to fit in. But I want it to be centered there, and I don't want it to be too long so it slides back and forth. So I'm going to have to kind of estimate not how far down to go. I think maybe a little bit more than that. If you look at the girdle of this stone, it's relatively thick. So I'm going to need to make a kind of a thicker notch. I need to have enough room to cut in there. So let's kind of Kind of extend those lines down like that so I know where to stop. I have to figure out what kind of burr I'm going to use too. Probably use a diamond burr. Try a bit like that. This one's got a narrower tip on it. We'll see how that works. You'll see how the stone looks just a minute. So, got it sitting in there okay. You have to play with the geometry of it a little bit, but eventually get it to sit in there. Then I'm going to, before I pop it in there, I'm going to really kind of bend the tops of these up, but I still need to polish it. And the other thing is, how much space do I want on either side? Because right now it's sitting a little bit off to one side. We'll see how it's sitting when I get those pushed in a little bit. But we'll need to file one side or the other. And I could taper it too. That might be a nice look as well, but I'm not sure. What do you guys think? I'll do whatever I'm going to do, and you guys tell me whether I should have or not in the comments. You say, bad choice, Chad. You should have left it straight. Or bad choice, Chad. You should have tapered it. I don't know. I still have to decide yet. So I'm going to let this pickle for a little bit. Then I'll polish it up some. I had to basically in here make kind of a triangular shape carved out of there on both sides using those burrs, and I didn't get it perfect. Like I said, I'm not using very sophisticated equipment, so I'm kind of improvising, but we'll get that all kind of pickled and we'll get it in there and we'll make sure it stays. So, and then we'll decide what kind of modifications we need to make. But all right, I'll be back in a bit. All right, I did polish this up, and then I was just testing to see how it would fit in there, and it popped right in. So I think I'm going to sort of put a little bit of pressure on the top each side like that. Just going to rub that like I'm burnishing to give it some inward pressure. You'll probably notice I rounded the corners just a little bit, but overall I'm kind of pleased with that. I was having trouble at first getting this to sit flat like that, but I played a little bit with the geometry of this thing here, you know, so looks like it's in there. Okay, well, I'll take some pictures and put them at the end, but that's kind of what I was shooting for. Right, well, that was the half cylinder tension setting. I hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you go. And I would really love it if you went over to my channel main page and checked out some of my other videos. I have 423 last I checked, or somewhere thereabouts. I put 3 out per week, and I do them on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So there's quite a collection of content there, including tutorials, beginner, intermediate, advanced level. There's a lot of technique kind of stuff. and just some great project ideas, I think. So check them out, subscribe to my channel, and come back and watch a few more. The last thing is, don't forget to check the video description down below for some important links. There's a link to my merch store if you want to look into that ebook or last year's ebook. There's a link to my Patreon if you want to check out that community over there and the different kinds of things that are available there. All right, well, thanks for coming. Take care. Happy silversmithing.